Are we ready to go?
Okay, Dina, we're ready to go. We're recording and we're live.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Recovery Renewal webinar series. And today's subject is on the Green Skills agenda. My name is Dine Romero, and I'm the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council. And I'd like to introduce you to my panellists today. So I have Rob Dawson, who is the Council's Enterprise Officer and is here today to talk about economic development. Chris George, who is the Assistant Principal at Bath College, and his remit is on business and technical skills. Also with me this afternoon is Chris Mordaunt, who is the Council's Housing Standards and Improvement Manager. And also I'm delighted to welcome Councillor Sarah Warren, who is our Cabinet member for the climate emergency. So lovely to have you all with me this afternoon, and welcome to everybody who is watching this afternoon and to those who will be watching later on YouTube. So this webinar is being recorded and it will also be available to watch on the Council's YouTube later on as well. So the reason for this webinar is really to recognise the impact that COVID-19 has had on our local economy. It's been hard hitting, it's affected many businesses and many individuals. And it's to let you know what the Council is doing in response. So we're creating a recovery and renewal programme that will enable a more resilient, diverse and greener local economy to emerge. So we've been, particularly hard hit in Bath and North East Somerset because our economy is heavily dependent on tourism, heritage and retail. And it's recognised that a green economy and green skills will be needed to be developed, to be a fundamental thread in the renewal vision that's being developed in partnership with all parts of the community. And it's echoed in our commitments on tackling the climate and ecological emergencies and being able to deliver a district-wide 2030 net zero carbon target. But I think many of you will be wondering, what are we talking about when we talk about the green economy and green skills? So first, in that thought is around the green technologies industry, such as solar panels. But it's going to obviously be much wider than that. A green economy is a low carbon economy. It's about economic activity, reducing carbon emissions, being more efficient with our use of energy and resources, reducing waste and enhancing biodiversity. But it's not going to be just limited to that. So there'll be many things that business can do, if they review their practices to try and help us and them actually achieve climate and emergency targets. And we need to be thinking a bit more outside the box. We need to be innovative and we need to change how we are all working so that we are less carbon, that we use less carbon, and we also are less damaging to the environment. So we need to be in a position where economic activity is creating positive impacts, because we should not be in a situation where we have to choose between economic benefit and the environment or the climate. So the green economy is the whole economy. So today's discussion is going to explore what challenges and opportunities there are in the green skills sector and discuss the steps that have already been taken to develop this in Bath and North East Somerset. So can I just say to everybody who is watching live, if you want to join in the conversation, then please post questions on the question and answer piece that you should be able to access on your screen, and we will endeavour to address your questions or pick up on your comments as we move on through the discussion. So thank you. I'd like to ask Rob actually to just articulate a bit more about the benefits to Bath and North East Somerset in terms of the green economy and green skills.
Thanks very much, Councillor, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rob Dawson, and I'm the co-manager and enterprise officer within our business and skills team. So just to start off, I thought I'd give a bit of an overview of our local economy to start with. So we've got around 8,500 businesses in Bath and North East Somerset, and the vast majority of them are micro businesses. So they've got less than 10 employees. And we're primarily, as Dina mentioned, we're primarily a service sector economy. We've got strengths in retail, tourism, heritage. We've also got a large financial and business service sector. Our creative and digital sector is very strong. On the other hand, our traditional employments, such as manufacturing, mining, and primary sectors, we're relatively small in that area. We do have niche areas such as advanced engineering and built environment, which could lend itself well to the green recovery. Now, partly due to the diversification of our economic base, our productivity is not as high, say, Bristol or South Gloucestershire. It's partly due to the higher rate of employment in traditionally lower wage sectors. Our average wages is broadly in line with the country, with Great Britain, for 100,000 odd workers. However, housing costs are higher than average, which presents a pressure on disposable incomes. Same time, just under half of our residents are qualified to degree level, which is vastly higher than the national average. At the same time, less than 3% of our population have no formal qualifications. So on that measure too, we're outperforming the country as a whole. And our economy is, in general, is worth around 4.25 billion. So getting on to the green economy, there are many positive economic benefits to that. So when you're looking at our economic value and wages, a lot of employment in the green economy is high wage, high value. You've got the economic multiplier benefits, more income circulating locally, being respent. There's a human impact too, more employment opportunities for local residents. You've got the positive economic externalities that Dina touched upon, where employers and organisations in the green industries are working towards reducing our local carbon footprint, as well as producing economic output. We can build upon our existing strengths. We've got strength, as I mentioned, in local food sectors, digital, financial services, and built environment. All of these sectors lend itself well to the low carbon sector. We're also lucky to be surrounded by a wonderful natural environment, which we can utilise too. There's the export opportunity. Whilst our manufacturing sector is rather small, we're unlikely to be building all of the products and new technologies related with the green recovery. But some of our ideas, some of the designs may come from our innovation centre and our exciting new companies. There's an opportunity to export these ideas, not just within the west of England, but actually internationally. And you can see some of our buildings, some fantastic designs that were created in Bath in other countries such as Singapore and Dubai. So these services, these goods may not be built in Bath, but they can be designed here. So they're just some of the examples of why the low carbon economy has distinct benefits to Bath and North East Somerset.
Thank you, Rob. So Sarah, I guess one of the questions then to ask is, what are the opportunities for us here?
I think there are huge opportunities around this idea of a green renewal. So there are things we might want to do, like build a more resilient economy, so resilient to external shocks and things, by creating businesses that cater to local needs, using things that are selling things that are grown or produced locally. I think that's a really good direction to go in. Then there's this idea of the circular economy, which is about keeping items in use for longer, mending, reusing, upcycling, using waste from one sector as a feedstock for another. There's a whole other area around rewilding in nature, which I think we'll come on to in a future webinar, probably not so much in this one, but there's lots of jobs to be found in that area. But I suppose if we're going to focus for now on the sort of more technical areas, we have 3 priorities that came out of our work on the climate emergency. So after declaring a climate emergency, the first thing we did was to commission some research. And that told us that we have 3 big priority areas in which to make the biggest difference we can around carbon. And so one of those is about upscaling our renewables capacity very substantially by 300 megawatts. So just to give you an idea of what that would look like, not to say that's what we're going to do, but what it would look like would be of the scale of 28 large wind turbines, plus 100 football pitches of solar, plus 50% of houses with solar on the roof. So that's the scale of the challenge we have around renewables. Then our second area of priority is energy efficiency in buildings. So we know that we need to retrofit to make more energy efficient 65,000 homes that are already standing, as well as building zero carbon going forward. And we also need to move those homes that are heating and cooking with gas or away from gas onto other ways of cooking and heating. And our third big challenge is around transport and around increasing people's use of public transport and active travel. So there's going to be all kinds of job opportunities in those areas. I mean, one of the most labour intensive will be this of energy efficient retrofit and moving homes off of gas. So there's huge potential for jobs in that area. And the tricky thing that I guess we may come on to discuss more is about how you match the people with the skills and the homeowners with the motivations to make that happen.
Thank you, Sarah. On one level, it does sound quite easy, but as you point out, actually the tricky bit is going to be matching, the skills base to what needs to be done, and actually trying to ensure that homeowners do want to have these changes made, not just to their homes, but in some ways also to their lives as well. Perhaps, I think that does lead quite neatly into the work that Bath College are doing. So Chris George, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what's happening at the college.
Good evening. That did lead in quite neatly. So thank you very much. My name is Chris George. I'm the assistant principal at Bath College for Business and Technical Skills. So we are looking into making sure, we're always looking into making sure that we provide courses to be able to provide people with skills in every area, and green skills, for certainly. We're doing some work at the moment with Future Proof and the Green Register on coming up with a qualification that we can potentially deliver to adults and younger students, potentially for free, and we can maybe be able to get some funding from the government. We might be doing this full cost as well as certain options, but we're trying to get some accredited qualifications built and working together. We've got expertise from the college side in education, and working with Future Proof, they can bring the skills that they know within the industry. And I think that if we can provide these qualifications, we can upskill, we can really upskill people. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. We're working quite hard on that one, and with potentially, unfortunately, furlough coming to an end, and potential redundancies coming around in sort of the end of October. If we can provide, these skills to be delivered, it will help out the industry no end. So yeah, doing quite a bit of work on that as well. Not just that, I mean, we've got other courses at the college. So we deliver construction in the built environment and sort of building services, and we've in recent years looked at the courses that we deliver, the accreditation that they have, the criteria, and we've tweaked it so that it has a sort of sustainability vein running through it. So it's not so that's through the whole course. So we've been discussing with the lecturers recently, and it really is embedded into the courses, and the same for apprentices. So we have a lot of apprentices at the college, and they study these courses too: construction to built environment, building services, and they're able to then go out to work with their employers and let them know the work they're doing at the college, and through these different type of means. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Really want to help the industry and get people in, provide them with the skills. From the college point of view ourselves, we have our student union. We are currently looking for a student green officer, because younger students, they seem there's quite a lot of chat and discussion going on in classes, and I know where I've gone in, about green skills. Students nowadays, that they're really involved. They really want to help and be involved in it. So we've got a student green officer on our student union that will be implemented, and they will be going around classes, speaking to students, finding out the information, seeing what they can do to make the changes in the college. We've also we had working groups for sort of development of different areas of the college, and one of them, we've got a group now, it's called Green at Bath College Group, and it's staff, and so we're putting initiatives in with that. I mean, one of them that we've put in is the phasing out plastic in the cafes that we have. So we've got a bring your own cup scheme, and we've moved to canned water instead of plastic bottles, and we're trying to encourage students to do the same. We're doing as much as we can on changing recycle bins and making sure they're in the right spots, and so from that point of view, we're trying to do everything that we can. But yeah, I think the main one that we're trying to get at the minute is this retrofit sustainability qualification that we can help deliver. And if we can offer it out for free or at a lower cost, we think that might help. Well, we believe that will help no end. So yeah, from the college point of view, that's what we've been focusing on in relation to green skills.
Thank you, Chris. And I think it's really interesting to hear, that as a college, you're not just focusing on the courses you can offer, but you're also looking at the small changes that you can implement as one body within the city, and also on your Westfield campus as well. So, and I think that's an important lesson for us all to just keep on reminding ourselves of, that it's not about huge changes for everybody. Sometimes just doing something relatively small makes a difference, and actually once you take one small step, then you can take another small step, and maybe another and another. But then talking of perhaps some of the bigger steps that have been asked of us as a council and as an area, and indeed as a country. So over the last 18 months or so, there's been quite a strong movement, led particularly, I would say, by young people. Sort of the XR marches and Extinction Rebellion marches, and also other youth-led action groups as well. And I don't know, is this being reflected in students' attitudes? Are you finding that students are sort of demanding more from the college, in sort of in a reflection of that growing expectation from our young people?
We are. I mean, we're in a unique position where we can influence, a lot of young people and adults, of them coming to us, and we want to make sure that we're doing that right. The sheer fact of us, we're getting in our student green officer into our unions, because we've had a lot of feedback, making sure that we've got student representation in our management groups, in our governing bodies, when we have meetings, to make sure that that's reflected, and numerous surveys and data collection going out and going around classes and gaining that information. I suppose, yes. I mean, the short answer is yes. There's a lot more discussion about it from students, and speaking to lecturers, all across the the college. I know that these conversations do come up in class. If if they're in an English lesson and it's a English GCSE, for example, this might be a topic that a discussion topic that might come up for a speaking and listening exercise, or maybe in sociology possibly, or so yes, I think the short answer to that is yes, very much so, within our young people and our adults that we have.
And yes, the point you make about this isn't just an issue that's restricted to one subject. I think is really useful to hear as well. I'm going to ask Chris Mordaunt from the council, from the Housing Standards and Improvement team, to just explore a little bit more about how the council is involved, and perhaps also to answer a question that's come in from Jackie Head, which is around the incentives that are planned to encourage homeowners to have their homes retrofitted. Chris, you need to unmute.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. For some reason, I assumed that would happen automatically. Yeah, great. So yeah, our team, Housing Standards Improvement team, we do work with property conditions, really trying to work with landlords and owner occupiers to improve the condition of homes to a reasonable standard, and part of that is energy efficiency. And we've been involved in affordable warmth work for a number of years, and with the Energy at Home scheme. And yeah, we now fortunate enough to be running the Energy at Home scheme. And I think that really is the good opportunity and a good place where the council can help with this. What we can do with Energy at Home is, and what we do with Energy at Home is provide information on the kinds of measures that are available, and a little bit about what's suitable for different types of household and different types of property. And this will be developing over the next few months and years. But also we can connect residents that contact us potentially with local installers and contractors. And that's something that we don't really do that much at the moment, but we've got the potential to do a lot more. So we could help put residents in touch with the supply chain, with contractors and installers, and also help keep in touch with those suppliers, and help them develop if that's what they would like to do. Put them in touch with courses and as well as people and other trade bodies if they want that. So yeah, I think we've got a role there. I think like Sarah and Dina have said, there is really a need for green skills over the next few years. There really is a massive need. We've got these 65,000 odd retrofits that we think is needed to enable Baines to become zero carbon, and that's just to homes. And that isn't all big stuff. That's a range of stuff. Like Dina was saying, sometimes it's small things, and sometimes it's larger things. So even things like draft proofing, new windows, but to things like changing a gas central heating system to a heat pump central heating system, or more insulation, or it could be improving your existing cavity wall insulation or loft insulation, and it might in some cases be internal or external wall insulation. There's a whole range of things, and I think that's the point. I think in terms of incentives, that is, just to cover that quickly, for a long time we have been, our core work is lower income households in Bath and North East Somerset, and we still will carry on with that. And we have an affordable warmth grant, which is currently available to help those kind of households improve the energy efficiency of their homes, improve their heating systems, or even with renewable energy. But also we can, through Energy at Home, we can promote wider schemes, including national schemes. And at the moment, you're probably aware there's a Green Homes grant that's currently launched by the government, and there's something available for everybody there for insulation and low carbon heating systems, including heat pumps. and that's available on their Simple Energy Advice website. But interestingly, if you look at that website, and it's a very good website, Simple Energy Advice, it's a government endorsed website, and we will be linking to it. But if you put in your address and postcode, it tells you what installers there are in your area that you can use for those green homes grant measures. And there aren't any in Bath and North East Somerset. And it'd be really good if we could help, if the supply chain are keen, it'd be good if we could help if they wanted to develop the supply chain and help them get onto that list. And the main things you need to be on that list is you need to have the right accreditations. So maybe that's why the Baines contractors aren't on that list. But if they get in touch with us, then we can help do something about that. I think the other thing I'd just like to say about incentives is finance wise, we do also have a low cost loan. It's offered by a group called Lendology, and all this is available through the Energy at Home website. And we can do low cost loans to any household or landlord that's got a home in Baines. And so, yeah, it'd be good for more people to take that up. And yeah, just again, Energy at Home website is there. Also, we've got an email address and we've got a free phone line. So if anybody wants to get in touch about whether they're suppliers or residents, please do so.
Thank you, Chris. And obviously all the websites and phone numbers and other information like that will be attached to the YouTube broadcast of this when it is put onto our channel. I just wanted actually to pick up on a couple of other points that have been raised. So one was around business grants, and I know, well, I hope Rob will be able to come in with some information on that. And then the second one is any other grants around skills, especially for rural skill development. So that question has come in. In fact, I might take that one first, to be honest. That one has come in from Penny Williamson, a project called the Craft Cooperative, which focuses on traditional rural skills. And her question is about whether or not there's grants, funding or sponsorship that may be available. I don't know who would like to pick that question up, whether that's a college question or indeed for one of the officers of from the council. I'm going with you, Chris.
Yeah, Rob. Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say I'll pass over to Rob and Chris in a minute. Yeah, I know there is something called a future-proof scheme, which we can put people in touch with. But in terms of actual grants and specific training skills, I would go over to Rob or Chris George. Okay,
well, I will go to you then, Rob, and then Chris. Okay, and maybe Chris, you could also pick up. Sorry, Rob, you could pick up the question about business grants generally as well.
So right, yeah, for cooperatives, our team generally offers business support and advice. So cooperatives, slightly different structure, but I know there's an organisation called The Hive, which offers free mentoring and support for cooperatives, and we often refer for those kind of inquiries through to The Hive. I'm not sure whether they actually provide grants. Certainly, we can point the inquiry in the direction of kind of low interest loans, but perhaps we could pass on our details for our team, and we can look into that inquiry after this actual webinar. In terms of business grants, there are grants available. The West of England Combined Authority offers a green business grant. That's for businesses looking to cut their carbon footprint. They're shortly going out for a second round of funding. And since COVID has hit, there's been scheme after scheme of different financial initiatives, either grant funding or low interest rate loans, just to help businesses either get started or assist them with cash flow. So again, it definitely depends on what sector you're in, what stage of business growth you're in, what would be available. So for any inquiry like that, we'd have to take it on an individual basis. So our team also runs a website called investinbath.co.uk, and our team's email address is info@investinbath.co.uk. If anyone wants information about grants and support schemes for their individual business, because it might be that a grant's not right for them, it might be just appraising their business model, looking at other ways to generate more income and just find a long-term sustainable model which is profitable for them, we can talk through that entire process.
Thank you, Rob. And I guess the obvious question for you, Chris, is, does the college offer any courses in some of these rural skills?
At the moment, we don't, but we will always be looking to put courses on. So we have funding available to us for specific things, and adult courses. We have an adult education budget. That is something that we can utilize, and we would welcome speaking to anyone about a course about a set of skills that they would like delivered. And we, as long as we can get the right people in to deliver that, which I believe that we can, if we can, we've got contacts at Baines, and we can speak to people on the panel, and then we would be able to access the funding. Then yes, but if we would have to make a bespoke package for it, which we are not adverse to do at all. In fact, we would absolutely welcome it. So get in touch with the college, and specifically myself, Chris George, and I'll definitely work with whoever to try and put something together.
Okay, and I think that actually answers the question that Penny later raised, which is whether the university or the college would be interested in a partnership with the group. So I would just say, if Penny and Chris, if you have a conversation, I'm sure we would all be interested in the outcome of that. I mean, is this the sort of skills that you think the West of England Combined Authority would consider, some sort of grant or funding for?
Yeah, so we get funding from the West of England Combined Authority already. That's what part of our adult education budget, where part of that comes from. But if we, if it was something larger than that, then courses, then yeah, we would be willing to work with someone to put a proposal together to take to WECA, as the acronym would be, to look to see what we could do. So we have the initial, first stage funding that we could get through our normal channels and put together the courses. But yeah, if it was a sort of bigger project than that, then certainly we would be very much be up for doing any sort of partnership.
And obviously rural skills are needed, not just in Bath and North East Somerset, but across the other local authorities that also form WECA, so South Gloss in particular as well. So there might be, a broader kind of range of students that such courses could be targeted to as well. I'm just having a quick look on the question answer in the chat just to see if I've got some more questions coming up. Oh, actually a lovely comment which just says very positive, so that's always good to hear. Okay, so this is really interesting to hear what can happen and what could be done, and I think there's clearly opportunities here for entrepreneurs out there who want to get involved and to be doing something. Is there any, if you were interested in setting up a business, perhaps this is a question for you, Rob, how would you go about that? What would you want to see, and how could the council support that?
Sure. So our team puts on a fun series of business startup workshops. So these are delivered by a group called Cllr Ventures, and you can have one-to-one tuition on certain areas that you'd require support with, but they also run webinars on specific topics too. So that's our traditional go-to if someone's looking to start a business. We would promote that, and that's completely free for residents Bath and North East Somerset. But also on the other side of things, if residents are looking at retraining and reskilling, we'll work with the college, and we've got an employment and skills department within our team, which offers support for that too. So local residents can look at a number of schemes that we run to gain support there. So one of those is called Future Bright, and that's where people currently in work, but potentially people at risk of redundancy would also be eligible, can get free coaching, can get a personal budget and support to look at their career steps, look at retraining as well. They're actually running a free webinar next week on Wednesday evening, just called Boost Your Career. And that's available for any resident that's looking at either going into self-employment or might be affected by furlough and just wants to reevaluate their career journey. So I definitely recommend people looked into that. If people are keen on going self-employed or starting a business, then definitely get in touch with our team.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Rob. So just looking at the chat, I see there's a question around Doughnut economics. And I just wondered, maybe Sarah, if you could talk a little bit about the Doughnut economics. As you can see, it's a phrase I was struggling with there a little bit, and just maybe talk us through that and how the council is incorporating the principles behind that in its work around its renewal programme.
Yeah, I'll have a go. Doughnut economics is a concept that has been proposed by Kate Rayworth, I think, and essentially the Doughnut, defines the limits within which we ought to design our society. So, oh goodness, what we say, what it is that the inner ring of the Doughnut shows you the lower level of sort of welfare of citizens. So the minimum level of consumption, what they want, what they need to have a satisfactory life, and then the outer level is ensuring that we don't consume as a society and also as individuals more resources than the planet can support. Yep, so it defines the limits of what makes a satisfactory society, where everyone has enough, but nobody has more, consumes more than the planet can support. And that seems like really good principle. It's hard to explain, but you have to imagine a big round ring donut is what I'm trying to describe. And we want to live within the donutty part and not within the ring in the middle, because then we won't have enough, or outside the edge of the donut, because then we'll be consuming too much. So it seems like really for rebuilding our society, and absolutely it is part of our plans for green renewal for Bath and North East Somerset. And I have recently, actually in the last couple of days, seen another council that had incorporated a tool, a Doughnut economics tool, into their decision-making process. So this would be a really great thing that we could adopt, that sort of asks questions. So as the council is taking a decision around in any area of council policy, it sort of guides whoever's taking the decision through a series of questions that asks about, the social impact, the social justice of whatever it is that's being proposed, and the carbon emissions and the other environmental impacts, and guides you through, so that you ensure that whatever the output is of your decision-making process falls within the Doughnut.
Thank you, Sarah. And I guess that sort of builds on a much older comparison, where for a planet and the consumption that we are, I would imagine still, we are still consuming 3 times the planet's worth of its resource. So thank you very much. I think that was a really helpful commentary from you, Sarah, there. And as I said, there's a number of websites that will help actually with people who either want to hear more about Doughnut economy or economics, and as well as lendology and other things that have been referred to in this webinar. So I'm just having a look again in the chat. So we've got a question here which is around social housing. So how can we make sure that new social housing is built to the best green standards. So Sarah, I know this is an area that you've been particularly interested in, so I'll turn to you first.
Absolutely. I'm sure Chris Mordaunt will be able to give more detail, but I know that we work closely with our social housing suppliers and providers, and that some of the homes that have been built recently, up at Mulberry Park, for instance, there are a small number of homes built to very high standards of energy efficiency, which is passive house. And obviously that's what we need to be aspiring to do a lot more of. So, then of course there's the, through the planning system really is the main mechanism, the main lever by which we have control over the energy efficiency of houses that are built. And although it is frustratingly slow to change, we are working very hard behind the scenes to update our local plan, which will, and we will push that. There's certain national level limits to how far we can go, but we will push to the as far as we possibly can the standards we require of energy efficiency of anyone building any homes in Baines. But I'll hand it over to Chris, who I'm sure knows more about social housing specifically.
Thank you. Chris. And unmute.
Yeah, just pushing as hard as we can for, first of all, for the higher government standards, and also to be able to adopt those standards when new dwellings are built for new build. But obviously, if you don't, in terms of existing social housing, there's a whole load of existing social housing out there as well, and yeah, we're keen to work and encourage social housing providers to get access to funding, to push as hard as they can to improve their existing stock at the same time.
Yeah, because and I forget exactly what the figure is, so I'm hoping Sarah, at least you'll be able to remind me, but we lose a huge amount of carbon through our poorly insulated housing stock. So Sarah, can you just remind me what the proportion is? Is it, I think it's something like 60%, but I may.
So I think of our energy emissions in Baines, about carbon emissions in Baines, about 65% arises from the built environment, and then of which 38% of that is homes, and the rest is industrial.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's really massive.
So we can certainly see the kind of scale of the challenge and the need then to get retrofitted measures as fast as we can, so that we can do our bit, so that we can achieve our ambitious target of zero carbon emissions by 2030. In your opinion, panel, is there more that could be done, and who should be kind of charged with leading that? Looking for, I think, Rob to come in first.
So yeah, it is a challenging time economically. Clearly, the forecast impact of COVID on the local economy is that there's an 8% drop in our economy in 2020, which might not sound like a lot, but that's the largest economic shock on record for both the UK and locally for Bath and North East Somerset. So it's a difficult time economically, because a lot of businesses are focusing on their recovery and survival. There is a move towards more localized economics, which brings an opportunity. But it's certainly, now is the time where we can look at new opportunities, where people are potentially moving into new careers, new economic opportunities. So whilst we're in a very difficult period at the moment, there is that opportunity to retrain, and we're very confident that it's the green low carbon sector. That's where there's the demand. Like the majority of the economy is consumption. It's consumption led. That's the main part of our gross domestic product. So if consumers are demanding low carbon products, low carbon services, businesses need to respond as such. And as they grow in responding to that demand, that's where the skills demand will also come in. And we have to make sure as a council in terms of the local education and training providers, that our local residents have got access to that skills training and know what opportunities are coming to take advantage. So I think there's definitely more that can be done, but I think our sustainability team's already doing quite a lot of work in researching what, you know, the size and scale of the opportunities around green jobs, and that's certainly coming in. Councillor Warren.
I was just going to say that I know that a lot of work has been done at national and international level to look at that, to look at what sectors of the economy can provide the most jobs. And as Rob says, the green economy has a huge role to play, and actually potentially more than some of the traditional things like road building, which won't contribute on the environmental front. And so we know that this energy efficiency in homes is a really big source of jobs. I mean, today we're not dealing so much with the ecological side, but there's a whole lot of jobs out there in sort of rewilding the countryside, and so the council itself is in the process of doing some work to look at what will be the impact in Bath and North East Somerset, bringing this down to local level. So we know the areas of the economy that we need to open up and to do more with, and now we're in the process of trying to work out what that means in terms of jobs in what sorts of sectors. But we know there's huge potential there because people have done that work at high level.
Thank you, Sarah. And I think that's really, you know, a really good point as well, that that this isn't just something for us to do in this authority. It is something that is has a national dimension as well as international too. So, you know, if you do nothing else, then lobby your MP to actually make this issue more important to MPs and to Parliament as well. So just in terms of what the community can do, just bringing it back to this area, and we have spoken, you know, sort of throughout this webinar on and off around retrofitting homes. What about if we had you know, is there anywhere you could currently go and see what other people have done, so you could have an idea of what you could do in your own home?
So there's, I think you're right, Sir Dina. That's one of the important things we could do is just have better information about different measures, what you can do, and also what is suitable for your house, because every property is different, different ages, you know, and every household's different. So different things are suitable for, you know, different circumstances. And one place to look is the Energy Home website does give some examples of case studies of different types of measure that you can go and you can see. But I think that's where we can do a lot more, is try to, and we can help that through the council's Energy Home website, is make that more available, so you can go and see where you can go and see other examples of what you might want to do yourself. There is some very good document which is linked to on Energy at Home, which is a planning document, and what it does, it lists various types of archetypes, property types in Bath and North East Somerset, and it explains the different types of things you can do. I mean, it's basically a 17th century property, a Georgian property, a Victorian property, a post-war property, and a more modern property. So that's kind of a good start.
Thank you, Chris. Sarah.
I was going to say that in the past, I know that the council has supported local volunteer groups in running green open homes days, which is where people who've retrofitted their own homes open them up to the public to explain what they've done and how they've gone about it. There's not, as far as I know, currently any voluntary groups in a position to do that, but I know that we are keen as a council perhaps to start that sort of functionality virtually on our website, so to give people perhaps some virtual tours, if we can find some kind homeowners who will open them up that way. And we are talking about running a future webinar, I'm not sure when it is, on that exact topic.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, it was. I was aware that we had spoken before about running maybe almost virtual tours of green homes, so that people can pick up ideas that might help them and then then they could talk to Rob or to Chris about how they could develop those schemes further, because I think probably that's quite off-putting for lots of people. They know something should be done, they have high energy bills, but they don't know quite what to do with it, with that small piece of information. And it's how, as a council, we can make moving on and addressing that part of the problem, but also make sure that the house then becomes more energy efficient and warmer and less costly to run as well. And at the same time, that helps us deliver our carbon reduction targets as well. Right. So as ever, we've had a really interesting discussion. I'm sure there are many things that we could continue to talk about, but we are now in the final sort of 10 minutes. So I was just going to turn to the panelists. First of all, having checked if there's any other questions that need to be answered. I'm not seeing anything, both on the chat and also in the questions and answers, apart from just a little bit of an update. So the Green Homes webinar on retrofitting is scheduled for November. So so even whilst we've been talking about it, things are happening. So I'm going to turn to the panelists now, just to give perhaps you the opportunity just to speak for a couple of minutes each on what you think about the green, where you think we should, as a council and as an authority, be going with the green skills agenda. So I will bring Chris George in first, as I think you spoke the most longer ago.
Oh, thank you very much. I suppose it's just reinforcing that I think that we need to get more people skilled in this area and trained, and then essentially the word gets out wider. So as long as and the college and the council, we work together on many things, which we will continue to do, and we will help build the qualifications and work with the specialists that do that. And then if we can work with the council as a sort of referral, or help get people through, and then work on different projects inside the council. And the section 106 is something that we're sort of involved with. So yeah, the more of that we can do, I think the better for the area as a whole.
Thank you, Chris. And then turning to Chris Mordaunt for your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Dina. I think one of the things we can do which would be very powerful, is this thing about connecting residents with local contractors and installers. So I think we could try to find a way to get have a list of good local installers and contractors on the Energy at Home website. That residents and property owners in Baines can find local people, good quality local people to do the work for them. I think that's really important, and I think continue to lobby for more incentives to make these improvements accessible. So finance incentives to be able to allow people to be able to make these improvements more easily.
Yeah, because I think there's been some green deal kind of announcements made quite recently, but I think that there's quite a lot of upfront costs, aren't they, for the individual residents, if I've read that correctly.
I mean, yeah, there's the National Green Homes Grant Scheme, which is really good, where you get up to £5,000 towards some measures. You have to put a third of the cost yourself. If you're on low income, that's £10,000, and you can have that self-funded. You can have that totally funded. So it's a very good scheme. But the Lendology loan can be used to top that up. But however, I think we need a continuous, reliable source of funding, so the suppliers know that and homeowners kind of get the idea of it, get used to the idea that they can do this work, and that suppliers know that there's going to be work, the demand's going to continue. So it's just needs to be on a bigger scale. It's good so far, but carry on and more.
Thank you, Chris. Rob, your thoughts?
So yeah, just in terms of the shocks that we've had this year, I think it's kind of reiterated how important it is that we develop a more sustainable economic model that's more resilient, that can support more local jobs and retain those jobs. So from a business perspective, I think we just need to keep looking at where these new opportunities lie. And then if there's demand for training on certain courses, I know the University of Bath have got a sustainable technologies hub where people looking to set up a sustainable type business can get free dedicated support there. But on the skills side of things too, I know the government's recently announced a shake-up of, adult education and additional funding there. So in terms of locally, it'll be very important for us to make sure that we get a good chunk of that funding and we can apply it to make sure that any skills gaps that there are locally can be filled and residents get the opportunity to retrain in sectors where we know there's going to be demand for jobs over the next few years. I think the issue often with the skills is there's a time lag. The business demands the skills now, but it does take some time to get that pipeline, of trained residents there. So I think that the piece of work that's in running right now to identify what the opportunities will be really important, and then we'll be working with the college and other training providers to make sure that the relevant training's put in place.
And as I think both you and Chris have alluded to before, many people will have transferable skills. So we'll be able to, they may not be in that line of work at the moment, but they might have skills that they could develop further to actually fill those gaps.
Exactly, and some of these opportunities, they won't be in the most obvious kind of green technology sectors as well. They'll be within more traditional businesses. There might be an environmental consultant role, within every single business. So a lot of these roles will be somewhat hidden to start with. So that's why this research is really important.
Thank you, Rob. And Sarah, what are your thoughts about how we actually make the green skills agenda much more, how do we make it relevant for everybody?
I mean, I agree with whatever all the other panelists have said in summing up. I mean, I think what we need is a sort of consistency of vision. I think we've got the tools here in the west of England. We've got fantastic universities. We've got, engineering and architecture, and we've got sustainable transport. We've got fantastic colleges like Bath College, who are looking to be really responsive to what people are looking for, and we've got a highly educated workforce. So I think there's huge potential to, with the right vision, to regenerate west of England as a sort of nationally known centre of excellence for green technology and green construction. And I think that's what we should be striving towards. I should say as well, we could become, particularly in Bath, we've got all these heritage buildings. There's a sort of a big potential, again, if we can work with government to get the incentives right. That's actually an area which is not well understood, how to effectively insulate these heritage homes, and how to find ways of getting these sort of through the planning system and out the other end, and to be comfortable homes for people to live in. So that could be a real area of opportunity for Bath, particularly.
Thank you. So I think there's a massive opportunity here to not just implement a green skills agenda and to use that to address the climate and ecological emergency, but we could actually be real kind of world leaders in this area. So I think that would be really interesting, and I think this is a conversation that's going to continue. I am pretty certain we will have another webinar to discuss this in more detail in the future as well. So thank you to my panelists, to Chris Mordaunt, to Chris George, Rob Dawson and Councillor Sarah Warren. And thank you to our audience for watching and for your questions. And also to everybody that's helped actually set up this webinar and to support us in running this webinar. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody, and I hope to see you again at a future webinar. So thank you and good night.